I think we're live. Or at least I hit the magical button. I did, and it's asking me to end it. And the answer is no, guys. Thanks so much for being here. We are in week, I don't know of this, and you would think that I would be good at starting a stream. But here's the deal. It is not in my DNA to be good at technology. For those of you that are good at this whole screens thing, that's all I have to say. This is hard work. YouTubers, they earn their work. I'm pretty sure I say that every week, and I mean it. If you think that you are at midweek with Life Youth, you are correct. I am so excited that you're joining us. You might be looking at my background and thinking, Abby's in a new place. Again. Well, you would be correct. I'm actually hanging out at church tonight, you guys. I had to come in to help out with some stuff this weekend, and I thought, why not stick around and hang out super close to the youth room where I wish that we were meeting. It's totally fine that we're not, but hey, we're here together tonight. So thanks so much for joining us. I'm so glad you're here. If you are new, you had a friend invite you and you're checking us out for the first time, I would love it if you left a comment for us and let us know so that we can welcome you and get to know you and connect with you. We've got a lot of stuff that's cool. We've got a lot of cool people in our community, and we want you to be one of those people. So just wanted to say hello to you. A couple of notes for this evening. We've got some live worship coming at you guys, which I'm super excited about. It never gets better than doing live worship together. But I do have a different setup, so if you see me looking off into the left over here, just checking my notes, make sure I don't forget any important information for you. But it could look kind of weird, and like I was looking at a spider that was trying to attack me, which might be a case, but in this case, it is not. So, before we get to worship, which I know that you're super excited for, who is it, Abby? Who's leading us in worship? Just wait. We've got some stuff we got to get through, and it's our announcements. And here's the thing. I love making announcements fun because information is fun, because it's the tools and the key to our success. I'm pretty sure that's probably on a poster somewhere in the school's buildings that you guys don't go to anymore, but it's because it's true. Cliche, but true. Our number one announcement, guys, this week is the very last week of student stories here at Lunch with Life Youth. We have had some of our amazing students, some of you guys, share your stories, which we have just absolutely loved hearing those. And we are moving on to our next series for Lunch with Life Youth. Give me a drum roll for it. I wish I had a drum right here, right here, right here. Questions from a hat. Because here's what I know. I know you have questions. Why do good things happen to bad people? Who is God really? Is he just a man with a beard in the sky? These are such good questions, and you've got to get them answered somehow, right? Well, I want to answer them for you. So we've actually got a Google form. It's going to drop in the comments. You just have to copy and paste it into your search bar, and you can just submit a question. The best part? It's anonymous. I don't even have to know who's submitting it. All I know is that someone's asking it, and I want to answer it. And you can show up on Mondays and Fridays at Lunch with Life Youth, noon here. We go live and answer those questions. So we look forward to hearing from you guys and kind of laying out what you guys are coming for. That is announcement number one. The second one is this. The year is coming to a close. It is. We only have 3 more weeks of youth group. That's including tonight. That means only 2 more weeks of youth group. And we've done a lot of cool things. Everything from giant party, remember that way back when? Not Another Life. It was this school year. Giant party, Christmas party at the roller rink. You guys had some amazing small group interactions. We went to Winter Blitz. Oh, wait, do you guys remember Humans vs. Zombies? Or what about that overnighter we did at church? The lock-in? Yeah, that happened. And we've got photos, and you've got photos. And we want to make a yearbook. This was my senior yearbook photo, and I was going to show you what it was, but it's so embarrassing, I'm going to skip that part. So, again, there's going to be a link to a Dropbox. We want to see your pictures. We want to put them all together in a video so we can remember the amazing things that happened, and we've got one of you amazing students putting that together for us. Give her a shout out. We love you, Amelia. But in order for her to do that, she needs content. So go over to that Dropbox link that's going to be in the comments and leave some photos over there. Super easy. Just drag, drop them. They'll get to Amelia. She'll upload them on her computer. She'll do her thing. We'll have a beautiful video, hence the virtual yearbook. So guys, those are my 2 announcements. Super fun, right? Engaging. You have the information you need. Now we're going to head over to our time with our worship guests. They're going to be joining this Zoom call momentarily. That was the key I told them to take. So hopefully they're going to be joining super soon, and I can let them come in to the meeting on Zoom. which we did practice. We had a virtual band practicer today, which was new. But we've got the Garveys coming to join us to sing In Tenderness. And if you've never heard that song, it's a really good one. It's one of their faves for sure. There's going to be a link in the comments again for you to look up the lyrics to follow along, but someone's also going to be posting the lyrics for you guys to see so you can sing along with them. Oh, here they are. I knew they were on their way. I knew they wouldn't let us down. Okay, so I'm going to keep it in speaker mode, which is what we practice. Guys, are you there? Can I hear you? All right, I'm going to turn my volume up. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So without further ado, we have the wonderful Garvey Family Band. Do you guys have a name? I was going to try to come up with something real quick. We probably should have talked about it in pre-practice, but we didn't. But anyway, without further ado, the Garveys.
Tenderness he sought me, weary and sick with sin, and on his shoulders brought me back to his fold again. While angels in his presence sing, until the courts of heaven ring. Oh, the love that sought me. Oh, the blood that bought me. Oh, the grace that brought me to the fold of God. Grace that brought me to the fold of God. He died for me while I was sinning, needy and poor and blind. He whispered to assure me, I found thee, thou art mine. I've never heard a sweeter voice. It made my aching heart rejoice. Oh, the love that sought me. Oh, the Lord that bought me. Oh, the grace that brought me to the fold of God. Grace that brought me to the fold of God. On His grace I'll daily ponder and sing anew His praise, with all adoring wonder. His blessings I'll retrace. It seems as if eternal days are far too short to sing His praise. Oh, the love that sought me. Oh, the blood that bought me. Oh, the grace that brought me to the fold of God. Grace that brought me to the fold of God.
Lord, I thank you so much for everyone here. I pray that your words will fall upon the ears of those who are ready to listen, and that those words will sink into their hearts and they'll take something away from today. In Jesus' name,
Amen. Guys, thanks so much for being here. Thanks for using your talent and sharing it with everybody, coming on Zoom. And David, I know what your room looks like right now, and that is a sacrifice, and I appreciate it. So, all right, guys, we'll see you soon. Thanks so much for jumping on. Appreciate it. Awesome. We didn't practice this part. There we go. Okay, well, that was awesome, guys. I hope that you enjoyed that. That is one of their favorite songs. Every time I ask them, they're like, oh, we're going to do In Tenderness. So I am so thankful that they shared that with us today, and you got to experience it, and hopefully you got to see those comments with the lyrics so you could follow along, or you just got to listen to their amazing voices. Which, what a talented family, right? I have different talents in my family, and that's jokes, clearly, which I have a couple I'd like to share for you. You guys ready for some jokes? Hopefully you are. I've got a couple of them coming at you, but before we jump into that, I want to remind you, if you are struggling with mental health or you know someone that it is, we have an amazing teaching from Shay last week. Go ahead and look up the God plus Mental Health and share that link with them. It was encouraging to me and a great reminder to me, and we would love to continue to remind people in the midst of this time that's really challenging and maybe scary and overwhelming, that there is hope, and God can be that hope. And so I just want to encourage you guys to do that. We also have been posting some stories called Go Deeper, talking about the spiritual disciplines. So while you're at home, maybe you've been learning along with us since the beginning of this and really starting to want to grow in your faith. Well, we created these videos for you. They're moments where you can learn more about what it looks like to express your faith, not just in reading the Bible or in praying or coming to midweek, being community at church, but in your daily life, which is really the key to this whole thing. We come together to be in community, to encourage one another, but it really comes down to personal relationship with God and how you're growing in that. And those Go Deeper videos are tools for you to continue doing that. So I want to encourage you to check those out. They're also in one of the playlists on our channel. So we are going to be talking about change tonight. We finished up our series of self-care last week, and I thought to myself, what do students need? What are they questioning? What's going on in their lives? And I know that we have talked about doubt and grief and mental health and what does self-care look like. But at the end of the day, we need to recognize the elephant in the room, change. And no one likes change. Remember those jokes I was telling you about? I'm going to give them a try. And I want you to interact with me too. I want this first one, if you like it, you're going to type thumbs up in the comments. And if you don't like it, you're going to say, keep trying, Abby. Which I'm probably going to see a bunch of those keep trying, Abby, anyway, because I know your guys' humor. But maybe I'll get a thumbs up. So here's the joke. Are you ready? If you're feeling lonely, I want to get this right. If you're feeling lonely during quarantine, you should buy some stocks, because then at least you would have some company. Anybody know what stocks are? Or you buy a part of a company, you would get some company. Do you get it? Thumbs up? No? Okay. I knew that was going to be rough, so I saved this better one. I saved this next one. It's better. It's better. I promise it's better. Okay. A pastor, a priest, and a rabbi. They all walk into a restaurant. Nah, just kidding. Restaurants are closed. If you loved that one, give it a 1 through 10 rating. 10 is the best joke. You're going to keep telling it to everybody you know. 1 is, I really need to keep trying. But I've been trying. I've been practicing. You know, a couple weeks ago, Jared asked us what we're proud of. And I've done a couple things that I'm proud of on these quarantine, but coming up with these jokes was on my top 5 list. Hopefully I get some encouragement from you guys. I miss you. I miss hearing those comments from the audience. It's very, very different teaching from a screen. I literally imagine you guys sitting out there with me. But it's getting harder. And I'm starting to realize that this change is wearing on me more and more. And I imagine that if you're anything like me, you're starting to feel the same way. And so I wanted to talk about this week. Because one of the things we have to realize is that change sucks. Change sucks. No matter what kind of change it is, it sucks. Maybe at the beginning you were like, yeah, we don't have to go into school. I do school in my pajamas. Maybe you guys wore pajamas to school anyway, so you didn't really change that much. It's just location. But now you're getting to a place where you're like, wait a second. This isn't as great as I thought it was going to be. And I get that. I bet that we're coming to a place where we're starting to ask the question, how do I embrace this? How do I move past this? How do I let this shape me as a person? Like, what is this going to look like for my future? Well, I was on Facebook the other day because that's what I do because I'm old. And there was this video of this little baby learning to sit down. And it was really cute because I was like, how does a baby not understand how to sit down? And it wasn't just like sitting, but it was sitting in a chair. And he kept like moving around, but he would keep his butt up in the air. He like didn't quite understand that the chair wasn't going to come up and meet him. He was like just standing there like downward dog style, like, okay, what's next, Mom? What do I do? And it made me think of what we feel in the midst of this. Like, okay, we've made our adjustments to this change, but what now? What next? I thought that this was going to look different. I thought this was going to feel different. I thought that I would know something by now, and yet still I'm stuck in this moment where, where's the chair? Where's what I was expecting? So how do we really embrace this change? It's a good question. I've been wrestling with it. This has been a rough week for me. I was excited to come start working on Monday morning, and I realized, wait a second, I'm not going to the office for another week. And I won't be meeting with my friends at midweek. And I miss you guys. And it's starting to wear on me. I miss my friends. I miss going to see my extended family. It's getting harder. And so let's talk about this change. What does it look like to embrace the change? Because I've talked to a couple of you, and you're feeling kind of stuck. What can we do in the midst of this? Well, I want to encourage you that there is something that you can do. No matter if you're in 6th grade or you're in 12th grade, you get to choose. You get to choose what decisions you're making right now that start to affect the kind of person that you're going to be, the kinds of things that you're going to choose to believe in, the kinds of things that you're going to continue doing as you grow up. Right now, you're starting to form this idea, this identity of who you are and who you're going to be. And this pandemic, coronavirus, it's going to change that. It's going to shape that in a lot of different ways. Probably more than we'll know for a while. But there's something about your generation that I absolutely love. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But first I want us to turn to John. It's a gospel. The Gospel of John is the story of Jesus' life all the way to the very end. So maybe you have your Bible. Maybe you're grabbing your Bible app. But we're turning to chapter 21. And we're actually going to learn about a guy named Peter. I think we've talked about Peter before. You might have heard of Peter. Peter's one of my favorite people in the Bible. He's one of my favorites to learn about because I resonate with Peter. There have been so many times that I have definitely done something where I ran ahead and was like, yeah. Jesus started saying something, and I was like, yep, I got it. I'm running. I'm going for it. And then I turned around and I'm like, Jesus, why aren't you here? And he's like, yeah, man, I didn't finish explaining. Like, I imagine that happening with Peter over and over, where Jesus is like, Peter, come back. Hear the rest of the instructions. Have you guys ever done that? Have you ever opened a game and just started playing it, or maybe you grabbed one from your phone and you're like, I can figure this out. And then you go to play with someone else and they're like, bro, that's not the rules. And you're like, yeah, they are. And you're convincing other people that you know how to play even though you never even read the rules. That's kind of how Peter lived life. He's like, yeah, I got this. I don't need anybody else. I appreciate what you suggested, and I'm going to take that and make that my own. Well, I don't know how that turns out for you, but when I play games with people that don't know what the rules are, I teach them the rules. And we sit down, we start from the beginning, because otherwise we're going to have some disputes, and I'm competitive, and I don't want to get into that. But anyway, I want to read this story about Peter. John chapter 21. We're going to start off with verse 1 through 4. Afterwards, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Galilee. And it happened in this way. Simon Peter, Thomas, also known as Didymus, fun name, Nathanael from Canaan in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. I'm going out fishing, Simon Peter told them, and they said, we'll go with you. So they went out and got in the boat, but that night they caught nothing. We're going to stop there at verse 3. So I want to give you some context, because what we're learning about, if you're coming and joining us on Sunday mornings at Life Church, is context is king. So this is the last chapter of John. So this is the very end of the story that we have recorded of Jesus being a man on earth. And that means that he's already died. And he's come back to life. And Peter's experiencing him for the very first time in this story. But I don't know if you remember Peter. The last thing that Peter told Jesus was that he would never betray him. And then he went literally hours later and betrayed him 3 times. 3 times. And that's one of the last things he remembers with his experience with Jesus. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine walking and doing life with someone, becoming so close to them that you would die for them, put your life out in front of them, that you were committed to what they were excited and passionate about, and then turning around and doing the exact opposite of what you said the last 3 years? And to make matters worse, that was the last thing that you did while they were alive? I mean, you have to put yourself in Peter's headspace. He goes back to fishing, and why that's significant is because before Jesus picked him up to travel around with him for those 3 years of ministry, Peter was a fisherman. When he met Jesus for the very first time, everything changed because Peter became not just a fisherman, but someone that followed a rabbi, followed a teacher, and that meant something in that culture. It gave Peter value and direction and guidance, where he got to sit at the feet of his teacher, someone he looked up to and admired day after day. He was changed. Everything changed when he first met Jesus. He left his family, he left his job, he left what he knew to become someone that Jesus saw in him. And then we pick up in our story and find Peter returning back to what he did before, as if nothing had changed. But that couldn't really be the case, right? He knew that there was something inside him as a person, not only in his head, but in his heart, that had completely changed. And then he lost that. So he says, well, I'm going to go back to doing the one thing that I knew how to do. I mentioned earlier something that I love about your generation is that you guys are all about justice. You love justice. You fight for equality for people. It doesn't matter necessarily really what it's about. You fight for equality for people. It's important for you guys to be seen for who you truly are and that people respect that. And when you see other people not respecting someone trying to be truly who they are, you fight for that person. It's beautiful. This fire of injustice inside of you. Do you know that Jesus had that same fire for injustice? That you actually align with the heart of Jesus when you're doing that? Because during his ministry, when he was here on earth, that's what he did. He went to the marginalized, the people on the outside, the people that people pushed out, and he gave them value and worth, and he called them to more. I think that is a beautiful thing about who you guys are. When you're trying to understand what it means to do life, what the point is of being here, the question that you answer is being your true self, and you fight for other people to be able to do that. But the reality is, who is your true self? I really think that can only be found in Jesus, and I think that that's where we find Peter confused and back in the boat. He thought that's who he was. And then he met someone that showed him something completely different and showed him a life that was about love and serving people and giving purpose and moving people forward and standing up for what is right. And then he finds himself back, but it's not the same as what it was. So what does he do with that? What do we do in the midst of this pandemic when everything has changed? We're spending more time with our families than ever before, not even on summer break. We feel disconnected from our friends. We only talk through screens. We're trying to develop ourselves and our identity as you guys are trying to figure out all the things that are going inside. And with such little outlet, I mean, it's almost like you were starting to figure it out and it was all ripped away from you. How do you grapple with that change? It's a good question. It's a hard question. And I want us to go back to our story to maybe find an answer. We're going to pick up in verse 4. It says, early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, friends, haven't you any fish? No, they answered. He said, throw your net on the other side of the boat and you'll find some. When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, it is the Lord. And as soon as Simon Peter heard him say it, it is the Lord, he wrapped his outer garments around him, for he had taken it off, and he jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from the shore, about 100 yards. Can you imagine that? They're not far from the shore, and Peter can't help but get back to Jesus. Verse 9, when they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals. There was fish on it and some bread. Jesus met them. He knew where they would be. He knew that they were lost without his guidance, without him showing them the way. just like they were lost before they had met him. He knew that's where they would go back, to doing what they thought was going to make them happy, doing what they thought they were supposed to do, doing what they thought meant they were a good person, doing what they thought was expected of them. Jesus went back. He didn't scold them for doing that. He didn't question their loyalties. He didn't start off by saying, I gave you a mission to do. Don't you remember? Why aren't you doing it? He gave them direction. He gave them help. And he made breakfast for them. Because the God that we serve, the God that we worship, the God that we sing songs to and that we read about and that we pray to, that we ask for help, that delivers us, that's faithful to us, it's not a God looking for us to do things. He's not a God looking for us to have all the answers or to respond the right way all the time. He's a God asking us to be in relationship with him so he can change us, so that we embrace that change and that he can use us to bring goodness and love back into the world. Guys, there's a lot that you're dealing with, a lot that you're struggling with, and a lot that's heavy on your shoulders. Way more than when I was in your shoes as a teenager. And if it was up to me and the CDC wouldn't find out about it, I would come and give every single one of you guys a hug, like a good hug, and tell you that I know it doesn't feel like it's going to be okay. But I serve a really big God, and I believe that it's going to be okay. It's going to be different. It's going to be hard. But you are a part of the change. You're not just affected by the change. You're not just changed by the change. You're a part of the change. Remember what I said, you're deciding who you are going to be, the life that you're going to live, the way that you are going to act with your one life here. How are you going to choose to do that? Are you going to choose to embrace the risk around you? Are you going to choose to embrace the change around you? Or are you going to let it knock you over and figure it out on the other side? I love you either way. That what I'm asking can be incredibly hard. There are some days where I just want to lay on the floor and go back to sleep, hoping that when I wake up, this is all going to be over. And I can go back to my friend's house and I can just eat ice cream at a restaurant. And we can just be back together for Wednesday nights. But then there are other days that I'm reminded that it's not about me. It's about how I choose that day to impact someone else that might need a little bit more hope. And maybe by that one impact, that's how all of us are going to get through this and be okay on the other side. Get together. Not by pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, not by digging down deep enough to be able to figure it out on our own. No. By offering what we have today to one another and doing it together. But what does that look like for you? Because of course I have action steps. You guys love action steps. You're like, Abby, what you're saying, it's dope, but what do I do with it? And I asked Pastor Nathan, Jared, and Pastor Daniel the same things, so I'm glad you asked. And I do have a couple ideas that I've thought about for you. 3 to be exact. That first one, redeem your time. Okay, so we're in week 9, 10. If you count that first week, we still met together. And you've probably spent loads and loads of time scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. Respect, no big deal. I've done it too. But let's redeem that time. Let's say, okay, tomorrow I get 2 hours on TikTok, and then for that half hour that I was going to spend on it, I'm going to start a bucket list. I'm going to write down all the things I want to do in my life. Or I'm going to start a prayer journal or any kind of journal and start processing what's going on around me and how I feel about it so I can see the change that I'm seeing in myself, the change that is changing me. Maybe it's you start going for a walk every day. Maybe it's you stopping annoying your sibling or stop being annoyed by them. I don't know what it looks like for you to redeem your time, but you know what it looks like. Again, hear me. There is grace in scrolling through TikTok that's not a judgment. but how can we continue to use that time to better ourselves and better those around us? How can we look beyond the change to see what we want to accomplish? Not your jam, not really looking at making a long to-do list? No worries, I got another one for you. 2 words, honor your authority. What? Also probably on a poster in the school buildings we don't go to. But think about it this way. Y'all are hanging out with your parents and your guardians, right? And they've had a lot of change too, and they're dealing with your change. They need some grace. I know that you guys have been going through a lot. They might have been going through more and harder. So make a meal for them. Clean the bathroom without being asked. Invite them to play the video game with you. Invite them to look at TikTok videos with you. Ask them what it was like to be a teenager at your age for them. Connect with them. Give them grace. Honor them. Because they're doing their best. And we can say thank you in that. And that doesn't just include parents and guardians. That could even be your small group leaders or other leaders, your teachers that are reaching out to you, championing you and cheering you on, saying, we've got this together. What does it look like to send a little note and say thank you for helping you get through this? And my third one, my last one, I want you to make a list of 10 things you're thankful for. It won't take long, but here's why. Taylor Bolton is one of the students, one of you guys that I get to hang out every single week with, and I love it. I've loved getting to disciple her and getting to know her better. We started doing this thing 2 weeks ago where we text each other every day. One thing, just one thing we're thankful for. And I love it. I love the moment when I get the text from her and then I have to pause and think about what I'm thankful for and respond. And yes, you heard me correctly. I get the text from her because she is so much better at remembering to do this every day. She's on top of it. She's so much more consistent. I'm so proud of her. But it's given me perspective to see things out of what I'm currently struggling with and look at the big picture of all the things that are really going on. And there have been several times where I've just said, I'm thankful for my bed, and that felt awesome. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. It could be a small thing. What about you? Can you think of a friend that you can text back and forth once a day, saying one thing that you're thankful for and seeing how that changed? Guys, change sucks. But it's on us to think about what life is after. Change sucks, but you get to fill in that blank. You get to decide how this change is going to shape you as a person. Yes, change sucks. So what are you going to do about it? Heavenly Father, thank you for being a light in our darkness. Thank you for these students continuing to commit to learning more about you and showing up for community. Thank you for technology that we can continue to meet together. We love you. We pray this in your powerful name. Amen. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out tonight. I love seeing you. Don't forget, check our Instagram or Facebook pages to find that question for Questions from a Hat. We want to hear from you. Otherwise, that's what I've got for tonight. Head over to Zoom, and we've got some exciting games for you to play. So text your small group leader for the link information for that, or have your parents check their emails from earlier this week. I love you guys. Have a great rest of your week. Talk to you later. And bottom. Nope, that was it. I really need someone's help.